Well, after a good day Saturday, don't get much time to rest. That's the beauty of the Big Ten, or the beauty of a lot of conferences. But I thought after watching the film, it showed, the effort, especially in the second half. Although it was good in the first half, so was theirs. Second half, I thought we outplayed. We did a better job, a little bit with turnovers, especially in bunches. We continue to knock those down. I think this team has a chance to become better and better, like I said 2 weeks ago. But now we're back on the road, and this is that stretch where we're 4 to 5 on the road. 2 last week, a home game, 2 more, and it's against a different team in Maryland. They've had their ups and downs this season, but with wins over, Illinois, beating Rutgers, had them down 24 at Rutgers, and played both Wisconsin and Iowa right to the rim. They seem to be a team that has played to their competition a little bit. I think they got 3 or 4 players that definitely could start on a lot of Big Ten teams, maybe even ours. I mean, they have Ayala, who has been a thorn. Him and Scott have been a thorn in our side their entire careers. He's shooting the ball as well, and as deep as I've ever seen. Pat's Russell, the point guard, might be the quickest guard in the league. Watched the Rutgers game where those 2 guys went like 10 of 15 from 3, which is an amazing number. So between Scott and Russell, Ayala, those are good players. And then Waba, the transfer from Georgetown, averaged 14 points in the league in the Big East. So they have some really good talent. They were ranked in the preseason. Yes, they've had a coaching change, and Mark's not there anymore. But Danny Manning's a good coach, a good guy, and I think he's trying to do a job that's not easy. My main concerns right now are keeping dribble penetration contained, especially with Russell and Ayala. And Scott, like I said, has hurt us from the threes. 6'7", kind of 3-4 man. That has caused some problems. And maybe the last and final problem is they've made 16 more free throws than their opponents have shot. And that means they're getting to the foul line, I think, 70, 80 more times than their opponents, which is 60 more times than their opponents, which is a huge number. So defending without fouling, not turning the ball over, and containing dribble penetration, which leads to those kickouts for threes, would be what we have to do. I'm kind of anxious to see myself if we take, if we've matured any, that we can come off a big win and get right back at it. Practice yesterday was pretty good. It's not that we did a lot physically, we did a lot mentally. I thought the focus was good. Turn around, leave today, and play tomorrow, so we'll see.
You kind of alluded to it there, but I think it was after the Illinois game or somewhere in there you talked about being consistently inconsistent, especially in this little stretch. What are some of those things that are going to be important going into tomorrow to avoid that kind of up and down?
Well, turnovers will be one, of course, but I think consistent play defensively, and then do we get the ball moving on offense? Yesterday we had one of our best offensive practices, and I thought against Michigan we moved the ball better, we got open shots. If you defend well and rebound well, then you get your break going, which is very important to us. There was a disappointment coming off the Michigan game. Not only did they get 16 offensive rebounds, but the way they got them. Our lack of cutouts at a couple positions was something that yesterday we worked on, and today we're going to really go after, because that was poor on our part. So what you hope to do in games, you hope to win them all, of course, but in basketball, as I've said often, you hope to play better. I thought we did a lot of things better in the last game. The couple we didn't do well, we're going to try to correct and then get consistent on those things.
How well do you know Danny Manning? And I'm wondering, I mean, obviously he goes back, his starring days were when you were barely on the staff here. I'm just wondering how much you remember him as a player, and how much have you gotten to know him through the years?
And I know Danny pretty well. you know, when he was at Tulsa and Wake Forest and even Kansas. I mean, great guy. I mean, Danny's one of the good guys who was a very, very good player. But, you know, talk about a tough situation to be placed in the middle of the year when you got a team that was ranked coming in, and then you got a team that has some players but has to put them together because you got a transfer point guard, you got a transfer center. You know, not an easy position to be put in. Their mainstays of Scott Ayala really helped. The Hart kid is another guy that has been in the program, and that really helps you. But as far as what they run, how they play, I think they're well coached. I think they were well coached before. It was a strange situation what happened, one that I'm embarrassed as a college, in our profession, that these things are happening during the year. It's the nature of the beast, and I think Danny's doing the best job he can do under the circumstances. And I'm sure they're running the same thing. Him and Mark were good friends from their Kansas days, so I don't think he's changed a lot in that respect. It's just, as I always say all the time, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes, and how do you motivate kids to do what they're supposed to do. And there's times he's done a really good job of it, and they've lost some tough games. You know, 3-4 point game to Iowa on the road, a close game to Illinois, Wisconsin at home, a 1 point game. They've played good basketball. Their record is not indicative of their talent or you know, the basketball they played.
Tom, last year these guys just seemed like kind of a tough matchup for you personnel-wise. The rosters on either side changed enough that you're hopeful that, you know, they'll match up a little bit?
You know, they lost to one kid who transferred to Marquette, but it's true, you know, it was a bad matchup for us. It's still not great, but it's better because I think we're better defensively. I think with AJ and Tyson, we're better equipped at the point, and Max and Jaden Akins, I think, better equipped to handle Ayala, who is a load. I mean, he's a very good player. Key matchups, I think, will be at our 4 spot with Joey Malik and Scott, because Scott has been playing really well at times. He creates where he can shoot the 3 and hit, he can take it to the basket, so he can do a little bit of both.
I know you want to win them all, but if I had offered you in early November, 16-4 going into February, would you take it?
Yes. You know, I mean, I think I would have. You know, when I looked at our preseason schedule, you know, some things go up and some things go down. You know, Louisville's struggled, but that's a very talented team that was ranked going in. You know, Baylor and Connecticut have been everything you ordered. Kansas has been, you know, very good. I mean, it was a good non-conference schedule. It's been the Big Ten has not changed any. You know, there's so many good teams in this league, and you know, my heart and hat goes off to Northwestern. I mean, not because they beat us, they deserve to beat us, but they got to be the best 2-9 team in the history of basketball. I mean, every coach I talk to says, man, Northwestern, you know, you watch how they lose games down the stretch, and it's not bad coaching, it's not even bad playing, it's just some incredible things that have happened to them. And so when they're at the bottom of our league, call every coach in our league, ask if you want to play them, and they're one of the 2 or 3 teams at the bottom. So I've always said I think the mark of a good league is not the top. Our top is pretty good. I don't know if we look at it as off the charts good, but I don't know who you look at that way. I mean, it's not Kansas, they just got beat by 20 at home. It's not Baylor, they've lost 3 out of 5 games. It's, you know, Duke, I don't know as much. I haven't seen them as much this year, you know. So I think what you got is a lot of really good teams, and the Big Ten's got 5 or 6 of those. But it's the middle and the bottom of the league that really determines how good the league is. And that's an automatic win, like there have been other years. So, yeah, I am pleased where we are at 16-4. And as dumb as this sounds, I'd probably be more pleased at 14-6 if I thought we were being more consistent in doing the things we got to do. That's going to help us be a great team by the end of the year. That's the encouraging part of the last game. I thought we made some strides. we'll see if we can continue to do that.
It's obviously the stretch you mentioned earlier about the fourth or third game out of 5 or 4 of the 5 on the road. This building in particular has been a tough one to play in because the crowd has been so insightful. I wonder how much maybe having that crowd here the other night plus the 2 previous road games will help you guys go into that.
Well, I think, you know, we are getting a little more mature, which you have to be to win on the road. As far as our home, that place hasn't been like that in 3-4 years, but I think we all know the reasons for that. So I was very pleased with the way we played, but I was really excited about the way our community, our fans, that was a win for Michigan State and maybe East Lansing more than it was a win just for our program. And I think those are important factors that I've said all along. You know, those cardboard cutouts last year just didn't make it. You know, and it's good to have everybody back. And yet when you get them back, they have to relearn how to be. I thought that game helped a lot. Hopefully it'll help us as we go on the road now and then when we come back home. But going on the road is tough. And you know, hard to say what Maryland is like now. Used to be one of the tougher places to play. I know in Rutgers, the RAC is still one of the toughest places to play. So it'll be interesting to see how we do.
We talked a little bit about Max after the game the other day, but just for a freshman, the maturity that he's shown, you know, he could have a couple bad shooting games and that doesn't seem to really affect him like maybe it would some first-year guys. Just talk about how he's able to kind of still be a guy who defends, still contribute other ways, and how he's able to just kind of keep that even keel even when there's some issues shooting the ball time.
You know, and his even keel isn't as even as you think. I mean, his demeanor looks like it, but like when he misses a shot or he doesn't play good, he is mad. And but I think it shows the maturity that he's able to say, I shot poorly. The world hasn't ended, you know. Early on, that was a problem. You know, he was taking every missed shot to heart. And we had a lot of talks about that, you know, Michael Jordan misses 50-some% of his shots and, you know, he's one of the greatest. I mean, Steve Kerr misses a high percentage of his shots, you know. So I think Max, he takes everything in like a sponge. I mean, what I'm most impressed with Max about is he never let his shooting affect his game. That's a big, big thing especially for scorers to do. And he's, again, continually showing we're bringing him off more ball screens now. We're trying to keep bringing his game along slowly. But if I had to say the best thing that happened to him was failing a little bit early, which is almost unallowed anymore. You know, yes, guy can struggle early. He did struggle early. He shot the ball poorly early. But his defense has been something way beyond where I thought it would be. And now he's starting to come off ball screens. He's starting to add things to his game, which is going to really help him and help us. So, you know, I'm critical of people that don't do what they're supposed to do. It's hard to be critical of Max because he's always trying to do what he's supposed to do. I love that about him.
I'm sorry, real quick.
Go
There
ahead.
was a clip
What
too,
time?
late in the game the other day of him kind of talking, I think it was Diabate or somebody kind of giving him, it seems like he had that image of the guy that's very calm, but that showed a little bit of fire in the guy that, you probably don't mind that a little bit.
You know, I kind of, when he was coming over and the ref said something to me, I said, what the hell are you doing? Then I found out a little more of the story. I said, good job. You know, it was, you know, I'm proud of you. So I do think that's all part of the growth pattern that God, I wish more people would allow these kids to grow, you know, fail and have some success, fail again and have some success, and then get where you're more consistent, and that's the way it's supposed to be, you know. I think the hardest thing is the kids that don't fail early, but if you want to call failing starting playing 30 minutes a game, but he wasn't playing as good, he wasn't shooting the ball as good, I should say. And it's fun to watch those guys grow, but you watch Max around here, I told you then, he was shooting 25% from the three. I said, he's the last guy I'm worried about. And that's because what he shows me every day, so hats off to Max.
There's a lot of excitement, obviously, that was surrounded Keon's basket, and he showed his athletic ability pretty well there. But have you given any thought? Will you sub him in a little sooner than the closing minutes, considering what happened?
You know, you broke the surprise, Audrey. I'm starting him in this next game, at whatever position he wants. That, you know, I'm not making fun of you, but I'm telling you that I think Keon, and I told Mel this. I mean, Mel and I recruited him together. It's not a surprise that he's a good player. I mean, some of you guys that followed him in high school, I mean, he had some monster games. It was funny because, you know me, I don't try to do anything at the end of games, and so I just thought we were gonna, you know, it wasn't the last shot or anything. It wasn't like we were holding it, rubbing it in, but they came up on him hard, and he did show his athletic ability going with his left hand. I mean, this kid is, he's been really fun to have for 3 weeks. And I think of what he's done in 3 weeks. Do I think it's gonna make a difference this year? I don't, but I don't know either, you know. One thing this team has been, knock on wood, is we haven't had any real injuries yet, where so many teams are having injuries or COVID, you know. What he's doing now, he's playing in that scout team, and he's playing more and more and more, but a little bit like Max, they kind of get along. He's a sponge, you know. He wants to learn. I told Mel that. I said I've been really impressed with how fast he picks things up, and that he wants to learn, you know. And he's kind of a shy, quiet kid. I'm trying to get him out of that, you know. And but I've been really impressed with him. But I pump the brakes a little bit. I don't think I'm going to start him or probably be the first guy off the bench, but I don't think he's a fish out of water either. The guy that I've been excited about the last couple of days, as crazy as it sounds, because he hasn't played much, is Pierre. Pierre is doing a few things off the court. He's just getting himself in better shape, and he's really starting to come around. And he had a practice yesterday, like real good, and we've seen this for the last week now, and I do think we're going to start working him in even more, try to get Max some rest, and I think his future is looks better and better just watching him grow in the last 2 weeks.
Tom, we talked a lot about AJ after the last game, and for good reason, the way he played. But Tyson, I thought early in the second half had some really good moments as well. And there was a drive to the basket where he finished aggressively, sort of over people at the rim. And I'm wondering what you're seeing from him and his growth and moments like that, how important they are.
You know, Tyson, I mean, AJ's a more powerful athlete, but I mean, Tyson can go up and dunk it like nothing. And I was shocked the first time I saw him, because he's a lot smaller, and he's got phenomenal athletic ability. And aggressive is the key, you know. He's not always aggressive enough. And that's what we're trying to harp on. Defensively, he can be pretty aggressive, but offensively he doesn't. I think part of that is just learning everything and trying to figure out what to do. And he is a pleaser, and sometimes I wish he wasn't, you know. I mean, I like guys that are a little more aggressive in that position. I think he's passed up some shots, but what I have is a two-headed monster, as I said, and I think at times they could really complement each other. One's a better shooter, one's more physical, one's bigger, one's smaller. One really sees the court, and yet the other one has great ball skills to get by somebody. So I think if we can use them, and then once in a while use them together, that position is going to take off. The problem AJ's had over his small career so far has been, can he consistently do that? If you have a good game, can you come back? So today will be a big practice. Yesterday he was pretty good, but I'm not giving AJ an inch, because until I figure out where he can handle that himself, I'm gonna stay on it. But I have seen some improvements in Tyson, and the reason is, I still think, you know, you look at a lot of those guys, you look at the kid from Michigan, you know, the first half of the year he was just okay, and he's really come on lately, and I think when you go from one level to the next level, you know, man, being a GA at Northern Michigan and being a GA at Michigan State was different. You know, it took me a while. It took me getting my butt chewed by Judd a few times to understand that. And it's the same for a player, it really is. And I think now if you talk to him, he can say, you know, I loved where I was at Northeastern. I love the program, this and that. He speaks very highly of it, but there is a different in levels, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, when he played in front of 15,000 people, as crazy as that, you know, what that must be like compared to what he did. And so I think he's just learning, growing. You always want it faster than it is, but it is taking place.
Hopefully not too similar of a question, I will ask about the point guards as well. It seems like a lot of times over these last couple of weeks, it's been one or the other guy, maybe it never, not never, but rarely both. What do you want to see in practice to tell you that maybe you're getting there, or what's that balance dynamic been like where, on the one hand, it's nice because you got a fallback guy, you know, somebody is not, but on the other hand, you probably want both, you know.
Yeah, I definitely want both. I agree, and what I want to see in practice, I want to see them both step up. The beauty of those two guys, I don't know if it's because they're both from, you know, Philly, New Jersey area, this, that, and the other thing. The beauty of them is they are tighter than thieves. You know, they're really good friends, and it's been, I mean, they really do help each other, and that in competition is a good thing. You know, it'd be like having two quarterbacks, although the difference is sometimes the backup doesn't play. We know this is going to play, and they love playing together, and I think we're morphing into that a little bit more. But you know, I just think that they've just got to keep improving on their consistency. And in AJ's case, sometimes I think he thinks he's conquered it when he has a good game, and conquering something is, what is it? You do it 21 days in a row. You know, and that's kind of what we're looking for from him. Can he consistently do that? Tyson, on the other hand, I think it's just a matter of learning the difference in levels and trying to live up to playing against people that are, you know, when he drives in there and goes in the air, even though he's a good athlete, when a guy's 7 foot, it's different than when a guy's 6'7" that maybe he went against. So just learning, it's just going to take some time.
I know that they got into foul trouble late, but what did you see looking back on the defensive job that Marcus and Julius did in that game? And were there things that can translate against Dickinson to the big guys you face here in the next few weeks?
Well, as you know, they're all a little different, and you know, we chose to have one game plan against Dickinson. It could be a different one the next time we play them, to be honest with you. We chose to have different ones against different teams. We just don't go in doing the same thing all the time. I thought there were some good things we did, but I also thought, you know, well, we were a little disappointed. Mark didn't cut out very good, and we graded him out. He didn't cut out very good, and that left Diabate to get some rebounds, and some of that was Joey and Malik too, but rebounds maybe Mark should get or Julius should get. So we're never going to be satisfied with that, but I do think there's some things we can learn. I thought there were some things we learned offensively. Mark stays in that post, and that jump hook and the kickouts that he made were really good. So we're going to keep growing from there, you know. I mean, I felt bad for Marty because we hadn't played him in a while. He came in and he did a great job, but he had a great practice yesterday. We're going to need all three of them with some of the guys we're facing. It could be Maryland. I mean, this kid, like I said, he's big and he can score it down there. He's got a great right-hand jump hook. And but I can't say we did a great job on Dickinson because he had 25 points or whatever, but whatever he was, 8 for 19 or something like that. 8 for 19. I mean, you kind of take that, especially when it's the center, you know, as long as everybody else isn't going crazy.
What about the energy level of those two?
Well, now that I would say is a very good point. I had to tell Marcus to sit down 3 times, and then I said, "What the hell am I doing? Stand up, Marcus. I've been waiting 3.5 years for this." You know, he was very energetic in the huddles, it's fun to watch people grow, we just don't get enough chance to do that. Marcus is growing, and, I'm disappointed when it doesn't happen the first year, so I can imagine what fans are, but everybody does it at a different stage in life, and, his energy level there, him diving on the floor, I said, God, I just wish you would have had a floor burn so you'd have something to show for it, so you wouldn't forget how to do it, because it's probably, I don't know if it ever happened before, and I'm really not making fun of him. I loved it. And a lot of people, former players, actually text me about it, and that was good. Maybe Mark learned something that he can get accolades doing other things, and so we're gonna see how that works. But I was pleased with both him and Jew and their energy levels. So yeah, what they played is one way, but their energy level was definitely good.
Go ahead, Jack, I'm gonna change subjects, I've had enough basketball, go ahead.
Hey, pitchers and catchers don't report for a couple of weeks, do they? Go ahead, Jack.
How many days, 14 hours?
Lockout.
Oh, good, lockout.
Tom, I know rebounding is an effort thing, but do you have to coach it any differently now with so many threes, so many long rebounds?
Yeah.
Guys getting to 12 feet from the basket.
Yeah. I think that's a good point that we talked to my staff about, and like, I've done what I think is a great job of taking blame when I do, like I'll tell a player, hey, because you're an All-American, that doesn't mean you do everything right. And if you're in the Hall of Fame, that doesn't mean you're always perfect. And I don't think we did a good job as a staff, as a me, of realizing it. And DJ kind of came up with something, let's put a deal at the free throw line, a dotted line in. So the number of long rebounds, like against Purdue, our cutouts were really good as far as grading, and they get 17 offensive rebounds. Against Northwestern. And it is because of that. It's a new era that you're getting some teams that are shooting 25 threes, and if they're clanging them, they don't just stay around the rim. And so more guard rebounds. We've been a team that usually gets our point guard to the outlets. Now we got to keep them in. We play war now. Our point guard's involved in it, where he used to be just going out to get the outlet. That's a very good point that should have called me a month ago, and then I would have done a better job. I wouldn't have had to take blame in front of my own team, but we did take blame for that. We did feel like we didn't do as good a job, and we're trying to address that now. And in the last game, it wasn't the long threes that hurt us as much as maybe poor cutouts inside. But for the most part, there's been more than 3 or 4 games when we were not getting defensive rebounds that was the reason. So good for you. That was good.
This may be a
All right,
reach.
baseball.
No, football, your favorite sport. This may be a reach, but I don't know if you got to know Matt Stafford in any of your bocce ball events or anything, but you're a big body language guy. When you see how he reacted in Detroit, never made an excuse, just kept his head on straight, never threw anybody under the bus, and now this is his reward. Does that resonate with you?
I sat there and watched the end of that game last night. We worked till about 9 when I got home, and showed his family up there, and his wife, and he came to I think 2 games, and I didn't know him very well, met him once. But I watched what he did when he left the Lions, and the class and the way he handled that, to me, was he's getting exactly what he deserves. And how good a quarterback is he? Everybody's going to debate that. But I thought he played very well the stretch that I watched last night, but I am happy for Matt Stafford, the person. It's something that I'll use with my team. I saw one of his interviews. We're going to play that for the team. There's always things you can pick up, and Matt Stafford would be one that he showed class when he was at the Lions. He showed class when he left the Lions. He hasn't ballyhooed himself. You don't see him talking about himself. He does his job. And yet, body language, when you watch the number of players that came up to him when he was supposed to get his interview, I look at that as the ultimate compliment. They had an appreciation for what he's been through. and that was cool. I enjoyed it.
I've got one more time. Tom, sorry to shift things back to the basketball, but I want to ask is when you look at the film of Maryland this year and that transition from Mark to Danny, have you seen that Danny's put his own spin on things, or are they basically keeping the exact same concept that they had in the first 8 games?
I know you're new here, but that UP accent is killing me right now. I gotta get that thing straightened out here. But you know what? I think Danny's trying to do similar things. I mean, you can't change the players, but like I say, it's not all in what you're running. It's kind of how do you motivate people to do what they're supposed to do, and if you can consistently do that. And I think they've been a little up and down probably in his mind, but they seem to be up for the big games, and that's what concerns us. We looked at that this morning as a staff, but Danny's had some good teams. He's been involved in some great teams as a player, as great teams as an assistant. He won big at Tulsa, struggled a little bit at Wake Forest at times, but so did everybody else, you know. And so I think he's a good fit, because it's got to be hell on wheels out there when you change coaches in the middle of the year. And I think that there's been a smooth transition. I think it helped that him and Mark were good friends, so it wasn't like one was backstabbing the other. And yet the difficult situation, I've not seen a lot of change, but I can't say that I watched film from way back either, because when there is a change, you focus in on these 8 or 10 games, 6 or 8 games that he's been the coach. So I do think they played some teams really well. They've won a couple big games. They've lost some tough games, and I'm sure this will be a big game for them. But it now, when you get near the second half of the season and you're in the the hunt, you're in the world. There's still a lot of games left. I mean, I heard somebody say on TV last night in the Big Ten, you could lose a game if you don't handle it right. All of a sudden, you lost a month, and that can happen. And it could happen to us. It could happen to a lot of teams. So every game's a big game for us now, because we put ourselves in a position where, at the halfway point, we have a chance. My goal here every year is to win a Big Ten championship. But my real goal is, with 2-3 weeks left in the season, to be mathematically have a chance. Well, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting closer to that, and that's what we're trying to do.
Any memories of Danny from that 86 game?
My only memory from that 86 game is telling Judd the clock wasn't started, because that was my job, keep an eye on the clock. And he telling me to, I'll just say shut up. Okay, I'll make it easy. And then I said, the clock's not running. And that's when he went down and pulled the Bobby Knight and pounded his hand on that phone, jumped off the thing, and of course Larry got the technical, because his whistle or whatever, the ref's whistle, he was going like this and caught that. It was a bizarre thing, but don't really talk to Danny about that a lot over the years. I think we did once or twice on the recruiting trail, but no, I think the clocks have been fixed, so I think we'll just try to win the game and not worry about the clock. So you guys have a good time, and we'll try to go out there. And the weather, who knows about the weather? Anybody check the weather?
We're gonna have trouble getting back, I think, that's the problem.
Oh, really?
There it's fine, but the snow's coming here Wednesday.
Oh, really?
We might just stay out there.
We might just go straight there.
You guys just stay out there if that ends up the case, maybe?
Huh. Nice excuse for your wives.